What if the key to your greatest impact wasn't in doing more, but in slowing down? This week on Reproductive Rebel, I am joined by the luminous Lynne Mull to talk about what it means to redefine success when your body says slow down. We talk about releasing the living shoulds, finding ease in impact, and embracing perimenopause as the sacred invitation to realignment. If you've been feeling the pull between your purpose and your energy, this episode is your permission slip to rest and rise differently. Listen to Impact with Ease, Redefining Success When Your Body Says Slow Down, now streaming everywhere you get your podcasts. Hi, I'm Adrienne Irizarry. I'm an East Asian medicine practitioner who is passionate about women's health and helping women to live their best lives. My goal is to put you in the driver's seat of your health, offering holistic solutions for a symptom-free life. Statements made in this program are for educational purposes only and not intended as a substitution for medical consultation or advice. We do not claim to diagnose, treat, or cure any diseases. This podcast is inclusive and welcomes all gender identities. The focus of the program is on biological function, and we will use the term women throughout, but it is referencing physiological and social challenges for biology, not identity. Come as you are. I am happy you're here and welcome all performances of identity. I hope you find something helpful in this show. Welcome back to another episode of the Reproductive Rebel podcast. I am honored to be joined today by Lynne Mull. Welcome to the show, Lynne.
I'm excited to be here.
So for those who are not familiar with your vibrant Substack and all of the writing that you do, please share with our audience who you are in all of your brilliance and what it is that you do.
I am Lynne, and I live on the East Coast, but I have been on the West Coast, San Francisco, New York City, and I've landed back in my hometown, not expecting to. I am a mom of 2 girls, a wife, a dog mom. Hopefully she'll stay quiet. She likes to get all the podcasts in herself. But I was a Wall Street executive for a really long time, too long to admit. When I say the number, I'm like, wow, I really lasted a long time. And I started to transition while I was still working. I was getting certifications in Reiki, yoga, more for my interest as a hobby, that growth mindset that I know you and I agree on. It's just this idea of I just wanted to learn all the time and make myself feel better. And then I got coaching certified. So I am a holistic career coach focused on women who are just tired of feeling bad about work, even though they've put in the time, and working in energy clearing, energy healing sessions as part of that. And I'm excited to be here. So I always say from Wall Street to wellness. I should have t-shirts made, but I really believe that there's another way to operate and live. It doesn't necessarily mean resigning. It doesn't mean quitting all your things, but honing in on what's most important. I did it for myself. And so I feel I want to write about it, live it, and help others do the same.
Beautiful. So I just really connected with Lynne when we talked in our screening call, because what she was describing on her path to what it is that she does now, I felt a lot of resonance, my path to what I do now. And, that hustle and grind culture is really hard on women's bodies.
It is incredibly difficult to navigate, whether at all ages and stages. But I do think we get to a point where we've lived through so much of our lives where we know we're good at what we do. We know we're experts in a field or a zone of genius that we have in that working space. But there were a couple of things that you and I talked about, and I'd love to share with the group, is that I picked my head up and I was like, what is going on here? What am I doing this for? And ultimately, it was bad behavior on my boss and the company. They sort of kicked me to the curb. They offered me something and essentially took it away. They put the carrot out there and then the carrot disappeared. And so finally I had enough when I had put so much effort in. For anyone out there who always signs up to lead the book group at work and who always signs up to run the potluck and do the white elephant or whatever the extra stuff is. Lynne, will you lead the interns this summer? Sure, no problem. Extra. And I started to pay attention. My health was okay for a really long time, but my mom got sick a year after she retired from being a teacher. There was a woman next to me who had breast cancer. Then there was another woman in the office down the road who literally had to have back surgery. And I'm like, there's a pattern here. And I didn't realize the word somatics was not in my vocab then, but that we can imbibe stress. And then when my mom's cancer took this really big turn, and she's alive, which is amazing, but it got really serious. And I was like, why did this happen? And when I looked back at her life in the last 5 years before her cancer diagnosis, just the amount of stress. And I thought to myself, I need to do something. And I ended up retiring from banking, all the while having my coaching business. I wrote an Oracle deck. I was getting in yoga studios, and then I got sick. Like, why? I'm on this trajectory. I'm so excited, that excited entrepreneur. I have all these connections. I'm traveling to retreats. I'm leading retreats. And then lights out, I ended up needing a partial hysterectomy because I had uterine prolapse, which isn't that common, but it's also not something people talk about. And I find out through myself, through piecing it together, going to a million different doctors, that the reason that my uterus ended up falling out is because of hormone changes in perimenopause. And you feel crazy and you feel angry, and no one can really help you piece the symptoms together, because God bless the Western doctors who only learn what they're taught. Is they don't look at things holistically the way you and I do. Fast forward a year after that surgery, I said, something's not right. I don't feel right. I was waking up with pain in my lower back. Turns out I had a rare cyst on my tailbone. And so it was over a year later, I ended up having my tailbone and my S5 removed, because this cyst, which had probably been there a lifetime, was benign, thank God, but it was starting to grow. And there, as we know, everything down there is really close. And I basically had 2 abdominal surgeries, all because of hormone shifts. Not all, obviously, but the impetus and me. So it's like, okay, here I'm coming through. And then I have this, and yeah, I had to figure it out. I had to be able to be well enough to be here with you.
Yeah.
And sitting. God, I love sitting now. I couldn't sit for a while, literally.
Well, I mean, our bodies hold the movie projector of our life. So when we are busy and working hard, and it's like, sometimes like we can like hold it together until the pressure comes off. And then as soon as it comes off, it's like all the things that were lurking and waiting, like just go bang and they show up. And I talk to my clients about this all the time, is like emotions are energy in motion. And that energy has to go somewhere. And it gets compressed down into our body until it either can't be held there anymore, which in perimenopause, it just can't. Our hormone composition begins to change, and we're no longer estrogen dominant, which is the softening hormone that softens our responses to certain things. It softens our skin and the edges in our cheekbones and all of these things. Well, when we can't soften those things for the good of the people anymore, like we think that we're losing our mind, but really it's just, what have we been giving our power away to? What have we been sweeping under the rug? What have we been like doing for the good of the people that I can't press down in this box anymore? My physical body will not allow it, because now this energy is starting to mastitize into other things.
It's what we call living in the shoulds. It's that way in which I should do this. I should take over my dad's business. I should help volunteer 20 times, whether it's doing the extra things for your kids, for you, for your family. I should show up. And I have been guilty of this. I've learned I'm going to show up to Friendsgiving with the whole meal except the turkey because I have the I should. And it does. It doesn't. I talk about it when I see energy, I see it as that French press you're talking about. And it gets very concentrated, like those coffee grounds. And it's bitter and it's dried out. And that's not the way our energy is supposed to be. If you look at it in the purest sense, it's moving. It has flow. Some people's energy to me is circular, which a lot of people talk about on the chakras. But I also see sometimes tubular energy. It's like a highway. It's like you're moving on a super highway. I'm lit up right now on my left side as I talk about it. But when we live in the shoulds, it's that same thing. It's like you take all of those years of getting on planes on a Sunday when I should have given them the middle finger. And it leads and it compounds. And then there is this explosion. And I think it forced me to slow down. It forced me. And I don't want anyone to have to go through that. But I was confused on how to repair myself from surgery, deal with the emotional trauma of a workplace where I was screamed at, finally get excited about something, and then have depression at the backside of it. And part of that was depression because I had surgery in winter. I was unable to walk and move. But also I hadn't really processed some of those underlying pieces. So then I really had to find my way. What's going to get me out of bed? Where do I want to spend the back half of my life knowing I've created an environment for myself where I can work with people that I want to work with and help people who need help and want help?
And I think that's so important because that's also one of the big questions that energetically comes up in perimenopause is what's the next chapter? What is the next book going to look like? Because it's not even a chapter in a book. It is a brand new book in a series. Because like this is one of the golden opportunities to hit a reset button on your health. And if you haven't addressed it, your body will sit you down and force you to address it. And through that process, we are alchemized into something else, right? Like we come more in alignment with our soul's truth and purpose here. And often that does come with a career change, or it does come with, Menno divorce is on the rise for the exact same reason. There are big shifts that happen, and it's a conversation around our truth in what feels aligned, and have you spent years and years sacrificing that truth for the good of the people, or are you living in alignment with that already? And for the vast majority of us, we're out of integrity with that because we have such this like people pleasing, need to be the good girl, be seen and not heard kind of culture that it's really hard earlier on. I just look at my life, my 20s, I was like the biggest people pleaser known to man. And I was proud of myself for, achieving the directorship and, authority leadership statuses that I did by the time I was 26. But at what cost? I was diagnosed with celiac disease. So yeah, the body can only hold something for so long and then goes, And so if you have been out of integrity, by the time you get to perimenopause, it feels like your life is spinning out of control, but really it's coming back together.
So beautifully said. And I think it's an archetype. I love archetypes now because I think it helps us see where we are in a lot of different ways. But if you look at moving from the mother to the maiden, it's like you have so much experience. You're leading the group. You're not the grandmother, but you're in this space where you can thrive. And what was coming up as you were talking about that, I was thinking of a couple of clients and a couple of people that I run into, and they're afraid of all of this. And I'm not saying it's easy, because you and I know it's not easy to get into alignment. You do break apart relationships, whether it's marriages, friendships, family. Sometimes things shift because you can't take it anymore. And I just want people to know, women to know, you don't have to feel bad, but you do have to devote time to yourself to put the puzzle together. And for me, I have a functional OB. She just does functional and I can't see her. She's gotten so busy. She's like a one woman, Western meets Eastern little menopause office around the corner from me. And so I found another option to do blood work online, right? Like there are options. And then I've been playing with it. Like, okay, here's my symptom because it does change. Just like you and I were talking about, you need a new glasses script. Well, sometimes you need new supplements, or my thyroid finally went. Okay, so then what does that look like? But ignoring it is not going to help. It's just going to lead to further problems down the line, in my opinion. And I wrote in one of my Substacks that I used to come out of my office or pull in from traveling, and I became the person I hated. And I was blaming it on work. And there's a lot of it that I think was the culture of where I worked. But a lot of it was me not recognizing I was out of alignment and my hormones were starting to shift. So if you feel quote unquote crazy, which I did, and I was so angry, just use it as a red flag to go get, and don't just get your cholesterol done, get the blood work, get data, and then you can start to tackle some of these things. Getting a mammogram is one piece of it, but ladies, we have to look at the whole piece. So I always tell people I'm not a nurse, I'm not a doctor, but I don't work at a hormone company, but use that in parallel when you're trying to figure out, should I change careers?
Absolutely. Is this too much for my system? Like, I realized how many years I had spent working beyond my capacity. And this was even before I hit perimenopause. And
overfunctioning, we are. Yep.
Yeah. And like, it took me, when I first stepped out of the corporate role that I was in, it took me almost 6 months before I didn't feel like I needed to pace in my kitchen because my nervous system was so over-ramped from just trying to survive in the environment that I was in before, that I remember, I think it was like 7 or 8 months after I had started working for myself, and I wasn't even doing the work the way that I do now. I was doing nonprofit and small business consulting. And I remember sitting down in a chair at the table and letting out this really big sigh. And I was like, oh, I don't have to be constantly in motion and I'm still doing something. Awesome. Like, it sounds so pedestrian saying it out of my mouth right now, but at the time,
No,
it
it's
was
real.
this huge aha moment because I had no way to measure or understand that I had literally just been in survival mode the entire time I was working in my W-2 job. And I mean, being a small business owner comes with its own stressors, don't get me wrong, but it's different. It's yours. It's paced different. I mean, and whether you're working for yourself or you're working for someone else, it's a matter of doing work that fills your cup.
Right.
And when it gets to the point that it's depleting you rather than nourishing you, it's time to reevaluate.
And a lot of times, 100%, I see women in my inbox now, and it's usually the women. I'm so sorry for my late reply. I don't write that anymore. I don't reply. I mean, say right when I left, people are like, I've never seen anyone respond to an email as fast as you do, whether it was the school or a collaboration, but you're wired in those hustle environments. Your cortisol is always up because it's like, oh, I used to ask permission on Zooms during COVID to use the bathroom. Like, what environment can I not have a bio break? Where am I? That's not adulting. That is minimizing and treating us. It wasn't, but not all cultures are like that. And even if you decide to stay, I don't want people to think you have to leap or change roles or change even industries, because if you can, a lot of my people end up creating jobs in the same industry, or they create jobs or find a different group, or they pull back. Not even pull back, but maybe they think they want to be the head of sales and they end up wanting to go run a small HR group. It depends, but figuring out your clear path so you can have those audible sighs and you're like, oh, this is the life I built, or I actually like this. And when I like what you're admitting, and I would admit it too, is that there's grit and hard work in all of it.
Absolutely.
And we just want it to be from a place of knowing your purpose, understanding your priorities, which might change in a year, might change in 2 years, certainly will change in 10, having high impact, and being able to meet yourself where you are and feel good, and also just let it be easy. not all of it should be so painstaking, because most jobs are not saving lives in a cath lab, right? It's not the heart attack paddle job. I mean, there are some out there, but most are not.
I love that you said that. I literally told a client that yesterday. I had a teacher in college. He was a hoot, and he would be like, well, we're not performing brain surgery, so there's nobody bleeding out on the table in front of you. And I used to be like, geez, Carl, that's so like morbid, right? But as I've gotten older, I have a much deeper appreciation for that statement, because it's true. Like, sure, there are jobs that have that level of urgency, but how much of that urgency are we creating? And how much agency are we giving to those that are essentially taking advantage of our power leaks?
The book Bitter or Better, I Decide by Hannah Koch is a practical and uplifting guide to turning life challenges into stepping stones. Bitter or Better shows how to understand yourself, resolve conflict, strengthen relationships, and reconnect with the source of love so you can choose better, not bitter, every day. For more information, go to bitterorbetteridecide.com.
So many power leaks, but then that creates an attachment style. So that's the other thing I was thinking about as you were talking about that heightened awareness of, I want to be a director, I want to be whatever title. Your ego mine was certainly. My ego was so attached to the brand I worked for, or to say I worked in finance. It felt sexy, it felt big. But at the end of the day, I was coming home and screaming at my kids because my cortisol just dropped, and then I would feel unable to even stir a pot of rice. I was so overstimulated and taxed. I think for anyone out there that feels that heightened sense of panic or anxiety or fear, it's just one part of you that doesn't have to overtake, and you don't have to feel attached to those work outcomes. Because as you and I know, it's like, there's always going to be that to-do list. There's always going to be that next thing. There's always going to be that next job, or the group's going to combine and they're going to take away your boss who you had to deal with. Or they could lay you off, or nothing is guaranteed. So as we are cranking at our to-do list for everyone else, what are we doing for ourselves? And sometimes people say to me like, Lynne, you're still busy, but I'm not. I take care of myself. So I am prioritizing seeing friends. I am prioritizing going to yoga. I am prioritizing acupuncture for scar tissue for my surgeries. I am going to follow-up appointments. So I'm at the year mark, or 2 years for one surgery a year. So the fall is busy because I go down to Philadelphia. I go 45 minutes away for these appointments, but I'm not canceling them, even though I feel fine. I know better. Get the checkup. Figure out, are you still good? Because it can change on a dime.
Yeah. And as your hormones shift, like that tends to be the period of time where we have the biggest changes and the most rapid changes. And, you know, it's the reason why there's a lot more emphasis on thermography and mammograms once you get into a certain age bracket, because your hormones shifting in conjunction with I'm going to call it the cascade of life that could be anything from social to work and everything in between that's causing stress. You know, cortisol can be a mean one, and we're particularly sensitive to stress as women in general. And then let's add on top of it, now we're going through this hormone change, so we've become even more sensitive to stress. So like, stress could be positive and stress can be negative. Maybe you're moving to your dream house. It still doesn't change the fact that your body is still perceiving a level of stress and does change your cortisol level. So, you know, I don't want this to all feel like a negative conversation. It isn't. It's just being aware of the rhythm that you're moving through the world and where your pain points are and where your pleasure points are, and doing things that help you fill your cup.
And that's what I call it: practical pauses, practical spirituality, micro pauses. I joke, I read Eat, Pray, Love, how whatever it came out. Elizabeth Gilbert's written 20 million books since then, but I would love to rent a house for a month at a time in a foreign country and write my book and do the things take long walks with my dog. But we've got mortgage and we've got 2 kids in school, right? So I'm very sedentary. So I'm like, how can I do this and still operate in a way that I pause? So for me, I do a lot of humming, sighing, moving my lips in car lines, at stop signs. I do a lot of take out the trash and do breath of joy, just release. I'm sure my neighbors are like, what is happening? I don't care. That's also something that happens. You stop caring about what people think.
and then so freeing.
So like, yeah. And I could admit, like, I don't eat that. I'm sorry, Mom. Like, I'm no longer eating your meatloaf. Like, you just stop. The veil is thin. But in all seriousness, it's like, how can you find these things that bring you joy that you can add into your existing day? I'm in a period of heavy driving right now for the kids. And so what do I do in the car? It is the podcast that's actually funny and it's not so serious. It's the book on Audible. It's sometimes dance music. It's finding these little ways. And then I do ask for a lot of signs. I'm like, okay, I've got this decision coming up on if I should do a collaboration in the spring, in the fall, whatever it is. This weekend, I'm saying to myself, show me a sign. And I have a specific sign, specific colors, and I show it to me twice by Sunday. If not, I'm not going to collaborate with that person. So doing things intentionally, being incredibly specific, it helps me get clear. And then really washing my face, like feeling my bones. I swear I'm closer to a higher power when I wash my face and actually slow down than I have in many years.
Yes. It reminds me of Thich Nhat Hanh's The Art of Mindfulness and like how you can really get a lot of meaning out of washing your dishes. And it sounds like such a small thing, or like pouring tea, but being truly present in those moments does incredible things for your nervous system. Just before we hit record, one of the things that you had said to me was impact with ease. And I feel like that is a really good segue for what it is that we're talking about, because these are little moments that do have a big impact.
I believe that when you hear yourself think, clarity, it just pops. It's that balloon. It's that bubble moment on cartoons where you're like, oh, I get it. It's those light bulb moments. And we often don't, especially as women, we wear so many hats. I asked someone to describe themselves the other day. She's like, I wear so many hats. Like, I'll take the whole time to describe. So we take on so much, and the noise is high. The noise is high with these little computers we carry around, with the news of the world, with our families, people asking us for stuff because we are so high functioning. So where are these moments where you can have big impact on yourself, for yourself, and make it easy to find clarity? So it's that beat where you're washing your hands a little bit longer. It's that idea of taking a very long walk. Like yesterday, the leaves were covering the ground that I walked on. I had to really pay attention. Couldn't listen to a podcast. I couldn't put my phone it was covered. I could have tripped and fallen on 20 logs. So it's finding those ways to hear yourself think. For me, it's always when I let the quiet come in, even for 5 minutes. I have the best ideas for articles. And I'm like, oh, that's the title right there.
Yeah.
And it's because I was just folding laundry in the quiet. And again, washing dishes, folding shirts, not that sexy, but giving yourself, what do I need now? What's happening? How did I react? How do I want to answer that invitation to go on vacation with that other family? How do I want to navigate this conversation with my spouse? Just letting yourself have that moment while you're washing the dishes, loading the dishwasher, or whatever your thing is.
Yeah, it is. It's really important. I have some of my best inspiration drop in while I'm folding laundry too.
Yeah.
Folding laundry, washing my hair.
Yep. There are those shower moments that you're just like, oh, that's it. I love Oracle decks. I love, this is Kim Kranz's little pocket animal card deck. And sometimes that's what I need. It's just like, this is the deck I wrote, the 24 deck. If anyone will put a little code in the show notes for people if they want that deck. But I'll just, if I'm so busy, I'll just pull a card. Gets me out of my head. I focus on a pretty picture. I focus on a word, maybe a symbol. Okay, that grounds me for today. Sometimes I carry the cards in my purse because I'm that hyper or that strung out on cortisol. And it also brings me to prioritize. We have so much going on as we hit perimenopause. It's our own health, probably our parents or aunts or uncles' health. We've got the kids. I've got one who's needing a little extra love as homework has gotten more intense. So we're just giving. How do you prioritize? So for me, it is the kids right now, but I don't put them first. I put myself first. I really do. And I refuse to give everything away to everyone because I think I did so much of that in a corporate job. And now I'm like, I need to balance it for everyone.
And I think that part, that statement that you just made is the hardest place for a lot of women to get to, because we have been socialized to sacrifice ourselves on the altar of motherhood martyrdom.
Yep.
Or workplace, the altar at your workplace. Like, we have been socialized to put everybody else ahead of ourselves and then what's left. And I've struggled with this. I see clients in my practice struggle with this. Like, we're not having this conversation from a place of having it all figured out. But having that level of awareness is critically important, because then you have the level of discernment to take a step back and go, oh, do I do this thing? Do I take a moment for me first before engaging with this thing? Do I have the energy to do this thing? Ooh, the truth of that is I actually don't have the energy to do this thing. So how could we come up with another solution? And I mean, we have this dynamic in my house too. For anybody who does human design, I'm a 6'2" projector. So I have a hermit piece. That's my 2. I could stay in my room or in my house all the time and be happy as a freaking clam. And I have 3 teenagers between the ages of 14 and 17. So staying in one place is not a luxury that I get very often, because I am the mom bus right now. And I have limited amounts of energy. I can do a crazy amount of shit in 4 hours. And then I need to give myself that space. Otherwise, creativity won't drop in. That isn't the way that most of the rest of the world, between generators and manifestors and manigens, like, that is not how most of the rest of the world works. So I often found myself on that altar going, okay, my kids need this. I need to do this. I need to just suck it up for a couple more minutes. And okay, I can do this. I can get them to this place. And I wouldn't ask for help because I was supposed to be able to do it myself. No, we have these really unhealthy visions, whether you're a parent or not, on what it means to be female. And we're supposed to rely on a village. There is supposed to be a village.
Yes.
We're built for a village.
We're built for the red tent in the village. I would be like the maiden in the back of the red tent right now. I'd be like, ladies, it's all going to work out. But I just was talking to a client about this, is we actually can have it all if we ask for help. We can have the business. We can work. I believe we should actually work for our own sanity, brains, and independence. But we do need help. And I really, similarly, something so simple is that there was a 1-hour we were giving, it was 6 women. It was not that far from here, but it was logistically nearly impossible. I had a sick kid home. I had a husband out of town for work, and I really wanted to go to this event. We were sharing our favorite books and why. Sounds awesome. I get to see people. I get to have a cup of tea. and I get to learn about what books they all love. Great. Fiction, nonfiction. And I ended up hiring a sitter for an hour who lives across the street. Did I really want to spend the money on having this girl come over? Could my kids have stayed alone? Probably. But it's just like, just do it for me. It was 75 minutes and I came home so fulfilled. The old me would have not, I would have said, everyone's out of town. I'm going to stay home. I'm going to cancel these plans I had made 4 weeks prior. And there's some things the rest of the week that I did have to shift when my husband traveled, but it's like pick and choose. And that hour, a lot of them stayed and had dinner. I couldn't. I did a little bit of it. I did the first part and then I had to skedaddle. So just always giving ourselves that permission, that Brene Brown permission to say, I could do this, or I can show up for this, or this is what I need, or I need help. It's hard, but it has saved me. And I think getting sick and being unable to drive for as long as I was unable to drive for with this tailbone removal it taught me to ask for really specific help.
I feel the same way about postpartum. Postpartum was a really humbling thing for me. I mean, that's probably the most recent thing for me because my son is just a little over a year old at the time of this recording. And so I really struggled with, my brain was like, this needs to be done and this needs to be done. And my body was like, sister, you just created a human and pushed a human out of your body. That is not a small task. So can you just sit still and hold your baby for a little bit? Like,
right.
Please and thank you. And I look back at that and it was this huge tug of war in my brain between the shoulds and the what is the truth of what I have the capacity to do? And I have an incredible appreciation for how hard my body worked, how much my body did, and how she is showing up for me now.
Right.
Because I did the work then and I sat my butt and I ate the good food and I took the time to make sure that I was healthy. But like, it's really hard to sit still when you're like, this needs to be done and that needs to be done. And and I've got to ask people for help because of this thing over here. And like, I can't tell you the number of times I sent my family up and down the stairs because my bedroom was upstairs and what I needed was downstairs. And I told them, you know, like when you have to park it, whether it's a surgery like yours or postpartum or some other kind of rehabilitative thing, because, you know, perimenopause, your bones start to change if you're not taking mindful care of them. And, you know, there's just so many things. And
yeah, the stairs. My tweens are like, roll their eyes. I'm like, can you go get that thing?
Yes.
And they still are like, I think they have PTSD from when I asked them so many times, but they'll get over it or they won't. But I'm like, I just did all these, I'm sure, you know, even to the baby, or like, I just did all of this for you and now I need a minute. Or I just ran around so you could have the food you need for practices or whatever it is. I don't love the word deserve, but there is this component of everyone in the family needs space and you do too. Mm-hmm. And perimenopause can become its own character if you don't get it under control. It could be like the sixth person in the house. You're like, who is this stranger? I actually think there's a comedic couple that he talks about this, like other personality, but I see it really as this other entity that it doesn't have to be that bad. I have to say, I've gotten it to a place where I work at it, but I'm okay now. I said a couple months ago, I'm like, I'm back, let's go. So I don't want people to be fearful. You just need to put yourself in that driver's seat because the to-do list never goes away. And now, you know, you just talked about how you're the mom bus and I'm just at the start of that process. But I also want to enjoy it. I want to have funny conversations in the car with my kids. I don't want to be like, where's your backpack? I want it to be fun and playful. And I'm back there because I give myself the micro pauses. I make sure I take walks in the woods with, you know, lumps and bumps and almost falling down on leaf covered paths. So I have my sanity. And I started creating this day. I can't do it all the time. And I know most people don't have the luxury maybe on a Thursday like I did, but I let myself have an adventure day. I just like, where do I want to go? What do I want to explore? Because I was cooped up for a year and I couldn't go anywhere. I just say like, oh, I want to try this new class. or I want to check out this little coffee spot, or I want to go to a salt cave in a different town 20 minutes away or 50 minutes away. Like I let myself, and that's where I do a lot of my thinking is driving. So I voice note myself on the drives, I call friends, and then I get this little adventure, like this cute little salt cave. Then now I'm friends with the couple owner. And so maybe it's not a full day once a month, but maybe it's a half of a Saturday where you ask someone else to take the kids and you take a drive or have dinner with a friend. Give yourself that space because you can get pulled down. And I just believe you can have high impact for yourself and other people, and it can feel easy because my day will feel so much better. My morning felt so much calmer because I took that walk in the woods.
I love that. I was going to ask you for a final thought, Lynne, but I think you just nailed it.
It was very Waldo of me, right? It's got the Emerson pond vibes going. But I know, I hope if anyone takes anything away, just like give yourself that moment of self-reflection to know what you need and know that it doesn't have to be. There are hard parts of all of our lives, but you can have these pockets of ease if you let yourself have these pauses and ask for help. You and I are in the business of help. I help women hear themselves think again.
I love that. So if women would like to hear themselves think again and want to reach out to you, how can they find you?
My website is my name, lynnemull.com, Substack also, Lynne Mull, and I am on Instagram _Lynne Mull. So yeah, I'm very active in the DMs and the notes, so you can find me and it's me responding.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for sharing your journey and your insights with us, Lynne. This has been such a great conversation.
I know. Thank you for having me.
All right. Until next time, everybody.
Thank you for joining me for another episode of Reproductive Rebel. Reproductive Rebel is recorded by certified peri-steam hydrotherapist and acutonics practitioner, herbalist, and Chinese nutritional therapist, Adrienne Irizarry of Moon Essence LLC. If you are interested in setting up an appointment for one-on-one support, ordering from our store, or checking out our course offerings, visit our website at moonessence.life. Be sure to subscribe to our newsletter and get insider information on upcoming events and offerings. Join the conversation. Like and follow us at Moon Essence Me on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. Your voices make this program possible. Thank you all for your continued support.